being able to choose to have kids and just having sex and, conceiving a child is a privilege not a lot of people have. And the fertility rate is going back worldwide for many reasons. And a lot of people either choose to not have kids or just simply cannot without help. My wife and I started talking about kids pretty early in our relationship, just to, get the important stuff out of the way. And we knew we at some point wanted kids. We didn't really decide on a number yet. Like we said, 1, 2, 3, whatever. And so when the time arrived, when we felt ready, when we had a space to actually start a family, we started trying. Granted, we didn't try for years, but knowing that Danny had or has PCOS, we early on went to a fertility clinic just to, see how likely it would be to, conceive a child without help, and also options.
Knowing that I have PCOS, I knew that it might be hard for me to get pregnant. And I've known that since I was 19, so I just kind of was more proactive about it. And I went to a specialist at the hospital first, just to talk about what the first options are. And she had given me different pills that I could take to induce my period and ovulation and all of that, just to see. But it never worked. And so then I think it was 2 months or something of doing that. And then she referred me to the fertility clinic. And it was there that they had said IVF was technically an option, but my certain hormone levels were so high for me that it could have been dangerous. Just with the high doses of things that you're injecting yourself with, it could have been too much stimulation for my uterus. So they gave us other options of lower doses of the same injections to start with, and then we could, try to conceive naturally using those with some other options as well. But that's basically how we started.
This video is not about me, obviously. Danny is a huge part in it, and Danny will also lead the narrative. But I also just want to put my perspective in a little bit here and there. So being on the sideline of someone who goes through fertility stuff, through hormone therapy, or whatever other medical stuff it would be, is sometimes very hard. To be there, support them all the way, and not really knowing what it feels like, what they're going through, which on the other side, it can make them feel very isolated at times, because, and especially that again, talking about infertility or talking about problems with having a child, conceiving a child, is something that not a lot of people talk about. I feel like maybe close friends, but a lot of people always say, it was easy, we tried once, or it was an accident, or, we didn't really, we knew we wanted one, but we didn't think it would happen so fast. Stuff like that you hear all the time.
I felt really shitty, honestly, about needing it in the first place. There's such a stigma around it where it kind of makes you feel ashamed as a woman that your body's not doing what it's supposed to do. And I think a lot of women feel that when they start going through that process. Over time, I feel like you feel really empowered and you feel just at everything that your body is doing. But in the beginning, it's really hard and you have a lot of emotions surrounding it. I remember the very first injection. I remember a lot of them. But the first one, I remember we had just kind of finished building, and we had our little party of people just coming over to see the house, and it was still a total mess and concrete, and nothing was finished. But we were sitting up there for it was for our birthday. We were sitting up there, a birthday party, and it was beginning of September. And I did the first injection that night, and was terrified because I don't mind tattoos, but I don't like needles. And so having to like do it myself in my stomach was hard the first few times. But at some point you get so used to it and you're just like, done.
Yeah. Month went by, and with every injection came either happiness or disappointment. And I remember the time very vividly because I couldn't really do much other than being there. And sometimes I felt very discouraged too, but I had to be, when Danny was discouraged or disappointed, I had to be the voice of optimism, of hope, which was not always easy.
I think that was the hardest part, honestly, of the whole thing. I mean, the injections were hard and the constant disappointment was shit. But at the same time, so many people around us were getting pregnant and having babies. And it just felt, you have this weird feeling of like, you feel really happy for them, obviously, because they're your friends, they're your family, but you also feel intense grief. Like the type of grief I can't even describe. Like it makes me want to cry just thinking about it. Like I remember so many times people telling us they were pregnant and you kind of almost have to fake a smile because it doesn't mean you're not happy for them, because you are, but you just know that you have this thought like, this is never going to happen for me. And it feels unfair and it feels horribly tragic. And I just remember coming home after all of those times, like every single time someone told us, and I just would break down like instantly and then feel horrible guilt that I felt sad about someone's happy news, and it was hard.
And I feel like that was a big reason why we started talking about IVF pretty early on, because we wanted to not raise awareness, obviously, but we wanted to be open with our journey because we knew there are a lot of people out there who had the same issues. We met tons of them at the clinic, and we felt like being open about it, showing maybe at least some person that you're not alone in this, might help them. After a month of injections, we had two options presented to us, and we went with IVF. So what they did was, it's actually a pretty simple procedure. So what they did was they gave Danielle another round of injections, and that helped a lot of eggs grow in her ovaries. And they had to collect as much as possible for, different rounds, because not every round would stick, obviously. So you had, the more eggs you had, the more trials basically you get. And so I think they collected like 8, something around that number. And so they literally went in and took them out of the ovaries, and then put my sperm into them, so fertilized them, and then put them on ice, so they froze them. The reason why they froze them immediately was because they needed her numbers to be at a certain baseline for the egg to be placed. And that was not the case, so we had to wait another month, which was particularly hard on Danielle, but I feel like it was very good because she was finally able to breathe a little bit and just, work out and just feel normal again after all those injections. And after a month, they finally placed the first egg in, and the rest is history, I guess.
Because eventually we decided that we were able to do IVF, / I pushed them to let me do it, because it was 8 months of just nothing working. And finally we did IVF and it worked. And so it came time for the egg retrieval. And before the egg retrieval, you have to induce ovulation so that the natural process happens. That was horribly painful for me, the ovulation part, because my uterus was like 2 or 3 times bigger than it should have been because of the stimulation. And it was very, very painful. And I remember being so grateful when the egg retrieval was done, because it was a lot of people say they have cramping after the retrieval. For me, I was just like, it was pure relief because it was so uncomfortable beforehand. The retrieval itself was fine. They put you under, at least here, I don't know how it is everywhere, but here they put you under. It's a very, very light narcosis, so it's not like you are fully under, but you wake up once in a while and you don't feel anything. They put you back under right away. So that was fine. I was tired after, but
And
the placement is nothing. It's uncomfortable because your bladder's full. You have to have a full bladder when you go in, and they have to press basically to like make sure that they put everything in the right spot, but you don't feel it. It's like going to the gynecologist, if not more comfortable.
Statistically, the first placement or the first try of IVF is not always successful. Statistics doesn't really apply to one person, but we obviously were hopeful, but it worked out well in our case. And it's a journey.
It definitely made the experience different, I think. I mean, like you said, I don't have something to compare it to, or I didn't at the time. The whole pregnancy, even when things were hard, I found myself just being so grateful. So I was so grateful for every little thing, like even when I felt nauseous, when I felt tired, when I felt just like I'm so done towards the end, I was still also just so grateful because I worked so hard to get to that point, and I put myself through so much to get to that. So I definitely think that I just had this immense sense of gratitude the entire pregnancy. I also was lucky and had a fairly easy pregnancy the first time around. When I held her the first time, it was kind of just like this sense of relief, like I had achieved something so massive. And I think even now, I think about like when things are really hard, because she's a toddler, and so when things are hard, I still think about it. I still think about like, I did so much to get her here, and I'm so grateful that she's here. So even though it's hard, I'm just so grateful that I get to be her mom. And because maybe it wouldn't have happened otherwise. And so I still to this day think about it often, and I'm still very grateful that it was possible.
So since the doctors collected more than one egg and we still had some frozen, we knew that we could go back. We could, have another child. And after 1.5 years, or a little bit after a year, we decided that we wanted to give it another try and grow our family a little bit more. And Danielle received another egg last year, and it stuck again. And this year, on the 12th of February 2026, our Finn was born. So I know this is a little different video. It's very personal, but it's a story I wanted to tell because, again, I feel like a lot of people go through the same stuff and feeling alone or feeling you can't really relate or talk to someone about it. It's not the greatest feeling. So I hope you like what you saw, and thanks again for supporting me. I have a Patreon now where you can actually subscribe and support me the most direct way. There are little perks that come with that. And thanks for subscribing, thanks for liking, thanks for commenting. That helps the most to keep the dialogue going in the comments for the YouTube algorithm to see, oh, this video might be relevant. That's it. Thanks, and I see you soon.